Americans have been given the impression that regulation is always a good thing, and that anyone who speaks of lessening the regulatory burden is an antisocial ogre who would sacrifice safety and human well-being for the sake of economic efficiency. If so much as one of the tens of thousands of pages in the Federal Register which lists all federal regulations were to be eliminated, we would all die instantly. The real history of regulation is not so straightforward. Businesses have often called for regulation themselves, hopeful that their smaller competitors will have a more difficult time meeting regulatory demands. Special interest has helped to impose utterly senseless regulations that impose crushing burdens on private enterprise, far out of proportion to any benefit they are alleged to bring. But since those interests bear none of these burdens themselves, it costs them nothing to advocate them. When Senator George McGovern retired from public life, he became the proprietor of a small Connecticut hotel called the Stratford Inn. 2.5 years later, the inn was forced to close. After his experience running his own business, former Senator McGovern had the honesty to wonder about the merits of all the regulations that, truth be told, he himself had helped to implement. Legislators and government regulators must more carefully consider the economic and management burdens we have been imposing on U.S. business, he said. He continued, as an innkeeper, I wanted excellent safeguards against a fire, but I was startled to be told that our two-story structure, which had large sliding doors opening from every guest room to all concrete decks, required us to meet fire regulations more appropriate to the Waldorf Astoria. A costly automatic sprinkler system and new exit doors were items that helped sink the Stratford Inn, items I was convinced added little to the safety of our guests and employees. And a critical promotional campaign never got off the ground, partly because my manager was forced to concentrate for days at a time on needlessly complicated tax forms for both the IRS and the state of Connecticut. I'm for protecting the health and well-being of both workers and consumers, McGovern went on. I'm for a clean environment and economic justice, but I'm convinced we can pursue those worthy goals and still cut down vastly on the incredible paperwork, the complicated tax forms, the number of minute regulations, and the seemingly endless reporting requirements that afflict American business. Many businesses, especially small independents such as the Stratford Inn, simply can't pass such costs on to their customers and remain competitive or profitable. He concluded, if I were back in the U.S. Senate or in the White House, I would ask a lot of questions before I voted for any more burdens on the thousands of struggling businesses across the nation. That is an important lesson. Government intervention into the economy cannot be assumed to be good and welcome and just. But that is how it is portrayed in too many of our American history classrooms. It is not unusual for American students to find their textbooks telling them that injustice was everywhere before the federal government, motivated by nothing but a deep commitment to the public good, intervened to save them from the wickedness of the free market. Alleged monopolies dictated prices to hapless consumers. Laborers were forced to accept ever lower wages. And thanks to their superior economic position, giant corporations effortlessly